We may have had a slight tactical change and it may have led to a long unbeaten run. If only you lot could have told me, eh? Hello and welcome to Season 19, Episode 7 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we're away against Manchester City and then away against Southampton, both in the Premier League. Since you were last with me, it's all been going rather well. I forget that it's been days since I last recorded a video. When did we last do one? It was probably around here somewhere. I think we've played quite a few games because I've had a tactical change and it's gone rather well. Not least of which was a 7-0 Premier League win against West Brom, which really sparked us on our way. I mean, we'd been on a decent run of form before then as well. In fact, I think this was where we were, weren't we? We just lost to Brentford. And I think the last time I played the old tactic was against Chelsea, and then I just abandoned it. I'll show you the new one in a second. And we've not really looked back since then. We've had a 3-0, a 7-0. 1-1 away against QPR was a bit of a blip. But then we've beaten Newcastle, Hull, Fulham. And we've had a decent run of games as well. So it might not be a true test of the new tactic, the fact we've not played anyone good with it yet. But that all changes today, because we're away against Manchester City. That good run of Premier League form has meant that at just past the halfway point of the season, we're now only 4 points outside of the Champions League spots again. The title is gone for this season. It was never really on. We just hoped we had a little outside chance early on, and we never really did. But there's no reason at this point why we can't push on and qualify for the Champions League again for a second season in a row. But we kind of need to, because we're not going to win it, because we've got Barcelona in the first knockout round. I tell you what, if we win the Champions League this year, it will be the finest achievement any football team has ever had. We were given the hardest group in the history of the competition. We've now got the hardest first knockout round you could possibly have. We're going to knock out all the good teams before we even get to the semi-final. It'll be us against Crewe in the final or something, because there'll be no one decent left. Right, the tactic. It looks like this. Very similar to tactics that we've used before. The key thing is we've changed to fluid, finally. I was looking... someone asked me in the comments, Kev, why do you use structured? I don't really know. We kind of always have. Since we were at Gainsborough, we've always been structured. But at Gainsborough, we were playing with a bunch of numbskulls who don't know what shape of football is. Whereas now, we've got world-class players in every position. We've got a world-class goalkeeper. In theory, a world-class centre-back. Somewhere, Ziyech, world-class midfielder. We've got a world-class striker in Cotton Eye Joe, even though he's injured. Oscar is one of the most promising up-and-coming players in the world. We've got quality players everywhere. Forget structured. Let's go fluid. Let's let them think a little bit, use their brains, use their ability, and try to do something a little bit special. We've gone to the 4-2-3-1 because we've been trying for a year and a half at Tottenham to find a player to play in the middle of our midfield three. We haven't found him. So instead of doing that, let's just push another player further forward. So Oscar and Sedlacek have moved out wide. And then Patson and Sir Brian are both getting runs in the team, playing in behind Vendrig, who's up front on his own, because Cotton Eye Joe has been injured with a slip disc for about a month and a half already, and he's out for another month and a half or so. So it was the poor result against Brentford, plus the injury to Cotton Eye Joe, and the thought of going to go two up front with only Vendrig in form, and the midfield thing. Circumstances all sort of combined to force us into doing it. That's why we've changed the team shape as well. And I'm also adjusting the mentality depending on the opposition. So we're away against top of the table Man City today. So we're going to use this system, but we're going to counter-attack. Now, like I say, we've not used this system against anyone any good yet. So there's every chance we'll get absolutely battered. We do have a transfer plan in place for January. We haven't been able to put it in place yet because it relies on us selling somebody first. Because if we look at our finances, we're massively, massively in debt. We're over our wage budget. We do have transfer budget to spend, but we can't add any more of it to our wage budget because it will take us outside of financial fair play, which we're already going to fail. So we need to sell one, maybe two players. I know the players I want to sell. Sedman is one of them because he wants to leave, so we may as well bin him off. I'd like to keep him because he's another one who's a world-class midfielder, but he wants to go. If we can convince him to stay, then it'll be Wagner who goes. He might go anyway. We've sent the young midfielder back to Manchester City, the one who was with us on loan, Becker, because if we only got two midfielders, we don't need 7 options there. And we might sell one of Nole or Sedlacek as well. Because if we're only going to play with one striker, especially with Oscar being at the club as well, who can play up front, we don't need 4 Premier League strikers. Sedlacek is probably at the top of the list to stay because he can play out on the right wing, which is what he's been doing in his little run of games that he's had. So we'll perhaps look to sell Nole and Wagner, which that could be 40 or 50 million pounds off a player, and use that money to bring in a proper right winger, and then in the summer a proper left winger, so we can move Oscar back into the middle where he's supposed to be, because he's a little bit wasted out here on the left wing. But it's the only option for us at the moment. So wingers are the shopping list at the moment, really. I'm happy with everything else that we've got in place. And this is the team that is going to face Manchester City. So we've got Igor in goal. A back four of Hansel, Plotnikov, Caetano and Brune. Medor and Sedman are in the midfield with Oscar, Patterson and Sedlacek in behind. A ridiculously good form Michael Vendrig, who has 24 goals from 25 starts in all competitions this season. It's only 12 from 20 in the Premier League because he's had a bit of fun both in Europe and in the EFL Cup. But he's in the form of his life. He's finally emerged as a Premier League player. About time too. And if we actually look at his star rating, which you all know I love so much, Cotton Eye Joe is officially a world-class striker. He's 4.5 stars. Vendrig is 4 stars. He's not far off being a proper superstar. He's playing regular international football for Holland. He's still only 24. He's the future of Tottenham when it comes to strikers. Ijo's not 29. He's perhaps got another season left. In fact, if we got a big offer for Cotton Eye Joe in the summer, considering the form Vendrig's been in and the fact that we're now playing with only one striker, we might even let Cotton Eye Joe go in the summer. We paid £53 million for him. Age 29, I'd want most of that back. But it's potential. It might be a busy summer again as we look to rebuild a team around a new tactic. I don't care who Derek Geary is. City are playing the same system. They've obviously copied old Kev. They've had a little look at what we're doing here at Tottenham. We're in a good run of form. Let's copy what they're doing. Kev's revolutionary 4-2-3-1 system that it's taken him 19 years of the save to settle upon. And I might abandon it today. You know what I'm like. If we get battered today in our first test against a good team, we'll be straight back to the 4-3-1-2 the next time we play against anybody any good. And then you'll get to watch Barcelona absolutely rip us apart when we play them, possibly tomorrow. That might be tomorrow's episode, depending on how today goes and how busy the transfer business is over January. We're already on to the 10th of January and no one's made any offers for any of our players yet. So if we don't sell anyone, we can't buy anyone. It's as simple as that. If we get a couple of players out the door, then we might end up being a little bit busy and it might be sensible to do a transfer special. Why is the replay not loading? What's happening here? There we go. That took forever. I'd like to think it was the fourth official deciding if the goal should stand and they're about to disallow it, but I don't. That is really jerky. What is going on with my computer today? If this computer explodes, not going to be very happy. Right, we're only 1-0 down. Not a disaster. City are, with Arsenal, runaway leaders of the Premier League. It's them and Arsenal, the only two teams who are any good, following the collapse of Man United after Jose Mourinho left. So, third is still not out of the realms of possibility unless we get absolutely battered today, because this will take the wind out of my sails. Forget about the players' sails. I'm riding on a crest of a wave at the moment. That one you've not had before on your bingo cards after this run of form that we've been on, because I'm calling myself a tactical genius. I'm tempted to get a t-shirt with tactical genius on, but not so much against a better team, it seems. I'm going to close the game and reload it between the two games because this is really jerky and I don't know why. And so if the jerkiness of the video is upsetting you, just fast forward 5 minutes until the next match. I'll probably tell you the score of this one because I don't know. I might pause it and investigate this jerkiness. Right, hopefully, problem solved. My computer decided to run a disk defragmenter in the background, which, believe it or not, slows everything else down. So, fingers crossed, now I've turned that off, everything should run a little bit smoother for the second half. Hopefully, it'll also fix our performance, because we've not been great. City have had 3 clear-cut chances, we've had none. We're not really getting much of the ball, And this is where this whole moving the tactic around thing comes in, because we've been on counter all the way through. I think it's probably time, with half an hour to go, to push to control. Finally, I have a reason to justify having my fullbacks on automatic. Now we're going to be changing the mentality mid-game. I mean, it's revolutionary. I don't know if any of you have ever noticed that button's there before, but it is possible to change tactical mentality mid-game. Who knew? Oh, think of the angry comments I'm going to get for that. Almost regret it. It's still really jerky. What else could my computer be doing? We need... that was going wide! That was going wide, and the computer has conspired to put us 3-0 down. I mean, this has not been a good performance, has it? I said we might just fly straight back to the 4-3-1-2. It's weird. The 4-3-1-2 doesn't seem to work against rubbish teams, but against the good teams, it works really well. So perhaps, and it seems really counterintuitive, perhaps we need to defend against the rubbish teams and attack the good ones, which would explain why we've been much better in the Champions League than the Premier League this season, because we're playing against better opposition who we can just attack. If anyone can explain the logic of that to me, feel free to do so down in the comments, and I'll do my best to get my head around it. People have tried before and I don't really understand, but perhaps we'll just switch between the two. If we play against anyone any good, we do 4-3-1-2. If we're playing against people who are rubbish, 4-2-3-1. I mean, it just doesn't seem... It doesn't work in my head, but I'm sure it'll all be explained to me. That was poor. We were just rubbish today. But we're playing against Southampton next, who are, in theory, inferior to us. So we'll stick with a 4-2-3-1 for that game. If it doesn't work then, we're straight back to good old Kev, old style, 4-3-1-2, attack for the next episode. Couple of changes for the Southampton game. I couldn't remember who we were playing. Eriksen comes back into the defence as he is recovering from an injury. He's not fully fit again, but we're getting back in now because we conceded 3 goals in the last game. Ziyech comes back in midfield, and that's it. I did swap Sir Brian for Patterson, but then swapped him back again. I was fiddling with those two. But in fact, we will swap him because Sir Brian's just in better form and Patterson played in the last game. That's about the 4th time I've made that change. So there'll probably end up being a reason why I made the wrong choice in the end. I don't know who he is, so we don't care. I'm still focused. Right, can I storm out of this? I can't. I'll just keep saying no. I hate it when they do that, especially when I can't storm out. I do occasionally storm out from a press conference. If I'm asked the same question a 3rd time, I always storm out. But apparently you can't do that from a touchline pre-match interview thing. I should be able to just storm away from it or punch the interviewer. Spit gum in their face or something, though, just to make them go away. Right, we've gone to standard for this game because we're away against a team roughly of our level. So standard seems like the right option. Sir Brian is in with less than a minute on the clock. Sir Brian justifies my team selection. It was never really in doubt. We were always going to play him. He's one of the best players that we've got in that position. He's a very strong argument for not needing to sign a left winger because Sir Brian plays there better than Oscar does. So why would we want to move Oscar back across other than the fact that he's going to go on to become one of the best players in the world and Sir Brian is already at his maximum level. But his maximum level is pretty darn good in the Premier League. That's his 10th goal of the season and we're still in January from midfield as a 24-year-old who's supposedly only 2.5, 3-star. He has the potential to get 20 goals this season in the Premier League from midfield. That's not too shabby. I could probably live with that if we had another 5 years of him getting 20 goals a season from midfield. Oscar has to be pretty special to push him out of the position there. Vendrick's in, makes it 2-0 with 11 minutes on the clock. This is what I've been more used to. This is how this team has been playing in this system. Look how far infield Oscar moves there. Sedman's pushed up beyond him. This whole fluid thing, it has been working really well with players sort of almost interchanging positions, moving around all over the place, using their own footballing intelligence to just rip teams apart. That's what we've got used to doing. And I guess Man City were just too good for us. We're still in the early development stages of this tactic. So maybe there needs to be an even more defensive version of it for when we play against really good teams where perhaps we drop the 2 back a little bit deeper. Although that risks I guess that risks isolating the front four. Can you isolate 4 players? Oh, Oscar's just scored a beauty. There must be a goalkeeper over there. I mean, Oscar's got 9 goals from midfield this season. We're not short of goals, are we? So Oscar chips it forward to Vendrig. Vendrig very stylishly heads it down. And Oscar, I was going to say he's placed it perfectly. He hasn't. It's just a terrible piece of goalkeeping. But more importantly, with less than 20 minutes on the clock, we're already 3-0 up. It's feeling like the West Brom game all over again. Can we get 7 goals again? I like 7-0 wins are one of my favourite ways of winning. It's almost as good as an 8-0 win and even better than a 6-0 win. So if we could do another 7-0, that would be marvellous. One with you lot watching, so you believe it actually happens and I don't just Tipex over the scores that we do while we're offline and put in my own versions. Why don't I do that? Then I wouldn't need to win any games. Amazing. Right, Southampton have got a lot of space here, and that was just poor defending. Our centre-backs were so far apart from each other and so far up the pitch. Look, I want the Sky Sports style circling them and drawing a line between them, Jobby. They were miles away from each other and so far forward. Perhaps Tactical Kev needs to drop the defensive line a little bit to stop that happening. Did I just hear a chorus of cheers from the comments section? You've been telling me to drop the defensive line for years? I haven't seen it. Right, Ziyech to Vendrick to Sir Brian. Look at this, how everyone... certainly, attacking-wise, this front 6 almost, we've got that working. That's done. We know that whole setup is spot on. We just need to fix the defence. Even Sedlacek scoring goals again. It's his 3rd of the season. What a goal as well. Remember, he's the top scorer in a season ever in the history of Tottenham, according to the records in this game. We've got him stuck out on the wing as a backup player who we're reluctantly playing at the moment, but he was first name on the team sheet last year. And he seems to be getting a new lease of life out on the right wing after a really tame start to this season up front where he went a long time without scoring a goal. And because of that, was in and out of the team. Now he's the only player we've got at the club who can play on the right wing, and he's playing week in, week out again. The goals are starting to come. The performances are starting to come back. And look at that. As a front 4, every single one of them scored. We've got 2 assists out of that front 4 as well. An average rating of like 8.3 across the 4 of them. That front 4, the way they're set up is good. Now we just need to figure out what to do with these 2. Someone did suggest fiddling around with the instructions that I put my centre-backs on in the comments. I don't really know how to do that. I guess I put one of them on cover to stop players getting in behind them. But my worry of doing that is, doesn't that just play everyone on side if you have one of them slightly deeper than the other? Surely you want a defensive line to be a line, if I know anything about defending. But perhaps not. Perhaps you want one dropping slightly behind the other, or is the idea they form a line, but the one who's covering would be the quicker of the 2, so comes in behind if there's a mistake and runs like the wind trying to catch up with the other player. But again, I feel like I shouldn't have to tell them tactically to do that. If a player gets in behind the defensive line, everyone should be legging it to get back there and stopping a goal being scored. Surely. Right, Sedman is going to come off for Medor, and we're also going to bring on Anicic for Ziyech and play Anicic as a deep line playmaker. There you go. New little role for him to see what he can do, and I don't think I've played him there before. He's actually played a few times out on the right wing. We're trying to train him to be a right winger so that we potentially don't have to sign one if we don't manage to get our transfer business done. Hopefully at some point Anicic learns to play out there, and it gives him a route into the team finally, which would be very pleasant. Right, Ericsson wasn't fit before the start of the game, so we'll bring Catano on for him. So, I mean, what would you do? You'd just stick one of them on cover. So cover will drop a little deeper. Stopper pushes ahead of the defensive line. I don't really want either of those things to happen. I want them to be a line. Let me know down in the comments why I would want to put my defenders on different instructions, just so I can help figure it out. Because this game is a perfect example of everything that's good and everything that's bad with this system and this team. Because attacking-wise, they are awesome. Defensively, just rubbish. And we've seen it time and time again this season. So today's topic for the comments. How do we fix the defence? I'm assuming the answer is drop them deeper, make one of them on cover. Maybe. I still want my fullbacks to push on the overlap and attack with the rest of the team. Do we need to drop one of the central midfielders a little bit deeper and have sort of a lopsided 2 in there with one almost as a holding midfield player? Does that mean we just have a midfield of 1 then? Or will that punish us? Let me know what to do. I've just realised, looking at the schedule as well, that we're playing Ipswich in the EFL Cup semi-final. So we won't show you both legs, but I think that means rather than waiting all the way to Barcelona for tomorrow's video, tomorrow will probably be Man United in the Premier League and then the second leg of Ipswich. And then we'll do both legs of Barcelona, probably with that Arsenal game and the Chelsea game mixed in as well. This is going to be like a 15-episode season. Tell you what, get in the Champions League and get a few cup runs on the go. This season's never ending. If you've enjoyed today's video, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.